Hey everybody, welcome to RefTime, powered by RTS and produced by Coraggio Media. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Crane. We'll be covering rules, plays, points of emphasis, and all things official. All right, we're back for another segment of RefTime with RTS, and our guest in the studio today is none other than
Bruce
Stevens. He said it like you forgot it.
Hey, you looked at me, I'm like, hey.
Everybody gets to introduce you. All right, well, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you coming out.
No problem.
Got this Bulldog stuff on. He's advertising the Bulldogs.
Yeah, that's the only way I can recruit, right?
Is it?
I don't know nothing about that.
Right.
We're not recruiting.
Right.
So, Bruce, you've been in the sports industry how long, including your young years of playing? When did you get started?
Well, heck, if you want to.
Yeah, we do.
Well, when I say playing, I look at it this way. So, Crane, you probably remember this back in early 70s. The churches used to have semi-pro leagues. And we were part of Progressive, and my uncle, Johnny Haywood, was the coach. So I was a bat boy, you know. I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old, a little bit younger than that. And they made me a uniform, and I'd run around at the end of the game and slide in the dirt, act like I did something. But that was my first love, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
When it
So
came
baseball.
Yes, baseball. And I played baseball. That's why I played in college.
Okay.
But that was my first introduction to sports. And then, I watched everything on TV, so. But as far as, then I played, of course, Little League Baseball. And then played the first time I ever played in the organized basketball, I was 9 years old. Al McGee had to come home from Wright State, and Memorial Park started those leagues. Mm-hmm. We had just built those other outdoor courts, the one close to, Washington or whatever, or 30, by 30. And he put me and his brother Gerald on the team, and I was like, ooh, I'm good to play. I was just happy that Al had us, he and Trent had us out there playing.
Yeah.
And then I started playing Metro before it was called Metro, when we only had like 4 teams. Kiwanis Steelers, Big M, McCulloch Center.
And that was football?
Yeah.
It was still football?
Yep, it was Weiser Park and Old Fort.
I didn't remember. You mentioned the semi-pro church baseball league.
Yeah, so
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so it was Progressive Angels. Ronnie and Chuck Underwood.
Yes.
Their oldest brother, is that Bill or – their older Bill or Kurt, one of the two played. Okay. Their dad was he didn't play, but he was there because he was, part of the church. Mm-hmm. My uncle Carl Stevens, you probably know my cousin Carl.
She used to work under Carl.
Yeah. So well, his dad. Played, and it was all everybody. Sim Nelson Sr. Mm-hmm. And I think Johnny Nelson might have played Stevie. Rest in peace. He just passed away.
Stevie Nelson just passed?
Yep. Went to his funeral Friday.
Wow.
Or his viewing, yeah. But
heck of a ball player.
Oh man, yeah. Jeez.
He played baseball too, though.
Yes, yeah. That's where he was a heck of a football player, but no one really knew how well he was. In baseball, he was something else.
You know what? You're bringing back memories because I think back then there was a lot of students who were all around athletes.
Mm-hmm.
They played several
multi-sport.
Yeah.
Because Nelson played. I knew him from basketball, and I heard about him from football. Now you told me he played baseball.
Oh,
too.
yeah. So you got to realize, back then you played whatever sport there was at the time.
Exactly.
You didn't continue. Like, I never played AAU in my life because there wasn't around.
There wasn't AAU.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm saying what?
So, and you just, whatever it's, and back then, especially for African Americans, baseball was our first love. That was the first sport that, everybody played baseball.
I did play baseball.
Yeah, and little leagues were huge. Now it's travel ball, and little leagues are real. But so,
little league was local.
Yes,
that's what it was for.
Yes.
Did you play baseball too as a kid?
I played softball.
Because our daughter played baseball.
She played t-ball, and then she played some softball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was Progressive. They were called Progressive Angels because it's a Progressive Church.
Okay.
Clark Oil had a team here in town.
Okay.
I think Mr. Swain was the coach there, and then they would travel. We would play teams in Defiance, Elkhart, just all over, and it was an actual league, and it was. They wanted in. I still got the picture. It was in Frost Illustrated. I was a little kid. It was 1973.
Wow.
H.C. Story.
Yep.
Remember him? He played. Heck of a player. My dad, Lester Woods, was on the team.
Wow.
It was a lot of guys. So that's where I first fell in love with sports. And then as a kid, we only had 3 channels unless you could get that UHF at the top working, and then you could watch Electric Company. And
why are you telling our business?
Right. Well, I mean, that's what it was when you was a kid.
That's true. You only had 3 channels, and they went off at 12 o'clock
exactly.
at night.
And Ray Charles would come on and
yeah,
sing.
you'd be watching a late night.
And the remote control was the kid.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Go change the channel.
Yeah, exactly.
And at the end of the night, it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Red, white, blue, yellow, green.
The kid was the person that answered the door and the remote control.
Yeah. Go get the Kool-Aid.
That's right. That's right.
So, but that was the times also that you go out and play.
Yeah.
Meant
Right.
just make sure you was back home.
But
Yeah.
for them street lights,
Yeah.
come on.
But we probably we wandered 20, 30 miles away from home. It seemed like as much as walking. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And at that time, I lived on grew up on Harmer Street.
Okay, so you were over there by McCulloch.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the McGee's, they lived on Wayne, but we were in the right behind them in the alley.
Okay.
James Hardy Sr. lived across the street from me.
Okay.
Sim Nelson lived around the corner on Berry, and then if you get then you got the McCulloch Street crew. And then if you look at over by Hanover, by where the Legion is at, you had Ricky Hall and those guys. So, we were all there.
Now, did you go to Northside?
No, I moved. So
Because that was Northside territory.
it was all Northside.
And then I lived on Hannah down by Weiser Park. So that was.
So it was Southside.
Well, I was at the break.
Oh, okay.
So Coleridge Street separated Southside from Elmhurst, and across the street, Chris Van Pelt.
Yep. Oh, so you were, yeah.
And
I remember.
corner, Chuck Smith.
Chuck Smith.
We all went to Elmhurst.
Yeah, man, they had some nice teams too.
Man, I just found out. I was talking to somebody just today at the Y, and they told me that he was matter of fact, it's funny. He said he was the principal at New Haven years ago. I didn't get his name. He's an older gentleman.
Oh,
He just a long time ago.
Okay.
He had white hair, and his wife had white hair, and we were talking about. I'll tell you that story. It's an interesting story. But he was telling me he was the principal at New Haven, and he had hired my coach, who was Kenny Etchison.
Kenny Etchison, yeah, because he was at New Haven.
Right. That's
Yeah.
what he said. He brought him, and then he was talking about how things were a long time ago, and I was just enamored by this. The guy was 90 years old.
Wow.
Him and his wife both 90. I'm just looking. I'm like, man, you could tell me stories.
So I remember going to one of the first games I ever went with was going with Mrs. McGee, Al McGee's mom.
Oh.
And Al was in 9th grade at Lakeside, when they still had 7th, 8th, and 9th. And they went to go play his cousin, Button Hill.
Oh, I remember
and
that
he
name.
was at Weiser Park.
Yes. I heard stories about Button Hill.
Oh,
I heard
man,
he was a heck of a ball player.
Man, he was real nice.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you got guys like Johnny White at Elmhurst.
Johnny White.
And Ron Lindsay lived over there off of Lewis and that area. So I grew up watching all those guys. And then we moved. We were one of the first families to move in Eastland Gardens. 1970 something. I
lived in Eastland Gardens, but
right,
this was long after you guys.
Yeah.
So you guys were the ones
grew
considered
up
going in the suburbs.
Yes.
That was a suburb
Yes.
back
And
then.
as a matter of fact, when we moved out there.
Well, you know where Eastland Gardens is. Out there by Fellowship Church.
Right. So
off Tillman.
And you lived on Autumn View.
Correct.
I grew up on Autumn View.
Wow.
Yes. So it was only like five or six black families out there.
Oh yeah. Back then,
Jesse the barber, the Williams, Jesse Williams.
Jesse lived out there.
Yeah,
that's right, because he lived around the corner.
They had the big pink house.
Yes, that was a huge house.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then across from me was Louis D, the Dinwitties.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You had the rich black folks out there.
Yeah.
That was rich black.
And
folks.
I remember when it was all well water. Because remember, City only went to Paulding.
That's true.
You go on the other side of Paulding where Turtle Creek
country.
and all that.
Yeah.
Yes. So
now, did you grow up drinking well water?
Yes. Okay. So until they came in and changed everything. So, but we used to just put it in the once it got real cold, you didn't tell the difference.
That's what they told us anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You grew up drinking well water too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up in the country though. So.
That's a whole different story in itself.
Yeah.
Country girl.
Yeah. Whatever.
Wow. But I lived with my grandparents.
Okay.
So in the summertime, I'd go back on the east side of town and be with my mom and where everybody I was with.
Okay.
And then during school year, I was always out south.
Harding?
Yes.
You went to Harding?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yes. So, and with all the Knoxes and all everybody there. So
Now,
that's all.
was there a lot of black kids that went to Harding back?
No, not then. That's why if you look from anywhere from 80 on down, all the black kids know each other. And you knew their families. Yeah, because it wasn't that many.
Because that's back in the era. I remember y'all had, who was that basketball star y'all had?
The first year, Greg Howard.
Not him. It was a white kid.
Oh, before Jim Master or before Jim Master? Yeah.
So I remember him, boy. He was a terror.
Man, if they had 3-pointers, he would have averaged 35 to 40.
Easy. That boy could bury threes.
Oh, man, as soon as he stepped across, we didn't have 3-pointers. As soon as he stepped across the line, he was open.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he stepped across 10 seconds, he was open.
One year, I think it was 79 or 80, they played.
So he's the original Steph Curry.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They played Southside. He scored every point for Harding in the second half.
Wow.
Yeah, that's when they had Flowers and Scotty Farrell. And,
yes. And Scott and Southside was the terror of the town.
Yeah.
Back there with Johnny Flower.
Yeah. And Tabram.
Yeah, Tabram.
So that year, you're talking about Elmhurst, the year that they won regionals, Harding won regionals, they beat, I think it was Donnie Young and
Chris Van Pelt, Chuck
Smith.
Ron, Roger Warfield.
Yes, yep.
And then the guy who, the white kid that his son played at Wayne, Doug Rare.
Oh, yeah,
Doug Rare, and he just died.
And Aaron, is that Aaron's dad?
Yes.
Yeah, they coached at Wayne.
There's another one that Mark Maxwell.
Maxwell. Yes.
So
Maxwell.
our two shooters were Mark Maxwell and Doug Rare.
Maxwell was about 6'2", 6'3", something like that. Yeah.
And them guys, and Mark Maxwell could jump. I heard he passed a year or two ago. But he could jump, and those were our two shooters. You talk about 3-point shooters. Doug Rare, Mark Maxwell. We got to get them on. Well, Mark's gone, but we can get Doug on. Yeah. But, man, those are – man, you take me back.
Write that down.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know I'm going to forget.
And Crane, I may have told you this, but, once a month, your dad would come to our house to collect the insurance payment.
Yes, he would.
Yeah. Mr. Hearn's here.
Yeah, my father raised me in that, and he taught me people skills through that thing. I would go to their house and collect their debit. He said, "Boy, when you go to people's house, whatever you see, smell, or hear, you don't tell anybody but me."
Right. Hey, and always had his suit on.
Yes, sir.
Real professional man. I'll never forget him.
Yeah. Well, he just had his 90th birthday party in August of last year. Yep.
Wow.
So
he's up in Chicago.
Yeah, he's still kicking.
Wow, that's something.
Yeah, it is. Because we went up there. And when I was talking to those people today, when the lady told me her age, she goes, "We're 90. So what do you think about that?" And I looked at her, I said, "Well, ma'am, my father's 90. "Really?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. You could tell me stories." She goes, "Oh, I could, young man."
Yep.
Yeah. So you have been, wow, man, you've taken me back.
All right, so let's talk about what you are doing now, and we'll bring it kind of full circle because you played at Harding, but then you also got into coaching. And I'm not sure if you coached before then, but I do know that you were coaching at Harding.
Right. So how I became a basketball coach is a late friend of mine, Malcolm Folks. He passed away during COVID.
Okay.
But we played football together at Harding, and we grew up together in Eastland Gardens. And Malcolm was the athletic director at Village Woods at that time. Then it became a middle school like they are now. But I had graduated from Butler in '88 and just got married in '89 and wasn't doing anything. And he called me and said, "Hey, I need someone to come over and coach the receivers for football." I was like, "Okay, I'll do that. I kind of miss sports. That'd be great."
Right.
Well, when the season was winding down, he goes, "Man, I don't have a girls basketball coach." I was like, "Okay, I coached the girls." This was '94.
And you say all this was at
Village Woods. Yes. And so I started coaching the girls. Well, one day, Al Gooden, who was the gym teacher there, comes out and goes, "Bruce, what are you doing here?" I said, "Well, I coach football. Now I'm coaching the girls." "Oh, you want to coach basketball?" I was like, I didn't think I did, but yeah, I'm doing this. So I coached girls for 2 years. And he said, "If I ever have an opening, I'm going to call you because I want you to come coach my guards." And, just, how it is. You talk to people and go, yeah. And then, and then I think it was 2 years later, Lawrence Jordan accepted the girls' head coaching job at Harding, Biggs.
Okay.
And Al called me to be the freshman coach. and then I coached the freshmen for 1 year. And
the boys.
The boys.
Okay.
Yep.
But at that point, then you gave up your coaching position at Village Woods.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I left Village Woods and
You
went
couldn't
over.
do both.
Right.
Okay.
No, because they were doing the same
practices
season.
and stuff.
It just now went from girls to boys.
Okay.
And I went over there and coached the freshman boys, and that was in '96. And then that next year, the JV coach left to take a head coaching job, like up by Angola or somewhere like that. And then J.J. Foster came over. I became the JV coach, and J.J. became the freshman coach. And then we had a ride from there.
You did.
The three of you guys, wow, I remember that.
Yeah.
Al, you, and J.J.
Yep.
And then all of you ended up doing it kind of as a side
Right.
thing.
So I was with Al a little bit longer because our girls coach, head coach, was fired during the middle of the year, and so JJ went over and took over the girls program
At Harding.
Yes, at Harding.
Yep.
And he stayed with that. And then when they closed Harding down, JJ left and took the.
Now Andre
Lures.
was coaching over at Harding though for the girls
But he did the junior high. When Harding became a junior high, that's talking about Andre Patterson.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
When when it became a junior high, like the way it is now, Andre Patterson did the girls.
Okay,
Yep.
I was thinking for some reason I had him as a freshman.
Yeah. Now at one point he did help JJ out.
Okay.
He was helping JJ out on the girls team before they closed.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if he had the freshman squad or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah. So, and then when they closed Harding, I've just followed Al over to,
New.
and then JJ ended up taking the head coaching job at Lures boys.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
You know, you bring up Al Gooden. We have to get Al to town.
Yeah, he was just here last Friday too. But if just let me know, I'll let him.
Yeah, because we need to get him here and interview him too.
Yeah.
You know what? I just got to tell this story about Al. And you were with him when he was at New Haven. Even when he was at Harding, I would have you guys' game. Al would come up to me during the game. He would say the craziest thing to me. Crane, you a terrible official. And I look at him. I'm like, that's tech-worthy. Did he just say that? And I was like, Al, what are you talking about? I'm talking to you. You're a terrible official. And he kind of give me a little smirk. And I run off. Was he joking? And I remember one time I asked you at Harding, I said, Al always say that to me. Is he joking? You were like, well, come on, Bruce. He was like, man, I think he's joking. I was like, you're just saying that because I'm here during the game.
Well, you kind of. We haven't had either one of you guys.
No, I haven't been there.
But it used to be, when you knew who you had before.
Yeah.
Hey, Crane Hearn's going to be officiating, so I'm going to tell you now. You better not carry the ball because it's going to be called, and then there's no use to even say anything back.
Yeah, don't argue. Don't put your hands up.
Why do I have that reputation?
Because you went through a period of time for at least 2 years. At least 2 years where that was your call.
Crane, you told us beforehand. Hey, if they carry that ball, I'm calling it.
And
I claim innocence here, folks. I claim innocence.
And you can claim all the innocence that you want. Right. Now, have you backed off of it? Yes, you have. Do you call it as much? No, you don't. In fact, we were just talking about it, and more times than not, your partners will call it before you do.
Yeah. In the locker room, they're telling me, come in, Crane, how many carry dribbles you going to get? I'm like, man, I don't really call that. Yeah, right. And they'll go out there, and they'll call, and from across the court, they'll look at me and wink.
Right.
Dude, what is this?
Right. Well, one game, I remember the last game you probably did, I said, told them all this, hey, he's going to call the carry.
Yeah.
And then they got there, he didn't call one carry. I said, yeah, I'm kind of upset about that.
And you know what? I think that's a real thing because I think a lot of coaches, like you said, when you have certain officials coming in, you know what to expect. And then when they don't do it, you're kind of like, well, what's up?
Well, I was telling someone, it was Ralph Charlton not too long the other day. I was like, there's not too many officials I get upset about. I mean, I went out and got my license and officiated for some years because I wanted to understand the rules. I wanted to make sure I knew the rules as a coach.
Like that.
Me and Jerome Hoke started at the same time.
Oh,
okay.
Yep. And then, of course, Jerome kept going.
Yep.
And then as coaching.
We're still working on Jerome, though.
Yeah. But
work in progress.
Right. But I said, I get it. I said, officials, everything's kind of subjective.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have rules, but everything's kind of subjective.
Yes.
Based on how you played growing up, what you were used to.
Yep.
I get that.
If you're big, do you allow the bigs to
Yes.
play a little bit more? If you're a guard, do you get all the ticky-tack stuff?
Hey,
You know,
Ray Odom was always telling me, "Hey, coach, they got to get tougher. They got to man up." I said,
Exactly.
I said, Ray, I understand that, but guess what? You're down low on our offensive end, and you're letting them play rough. And then when we go back to the other end, the other officials who's not letting them play, he's calling everything underneath. So I'm getting it on that end.
Correct.
So I used to tell my guys, throw the ball out of bounds so officials can rotate. You know, I'd rather take a turnover because now at least it's going to change the calls.
Now you're talking about an AAU type ball? Because
No, this is high school.
two-person. He's just talking two-person.
Because in high school, we're supposed to, on every foul, on two-person, we're supposed to rotate in every foul.
Right. So sometimes if it wasn't a foul or even if it's out of bounds, sometimes you rotate it. But if we ran up and down and there was never a rotation, now I'm stuck with the guy calling things. Okay. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. On fouls, they're supposed to. Yeah, right. Because that's the guy who calls it has to come to the table.
Supposed to.
Yes.
Supposed
but,
to.
you know, I get why you said AU because they stand back underneath and go, hey, 2-4.
We don't switch.
Yeah.
Well, because we're doing, you know.
Oh, yeah. That's like the other day when they played. The guy was the last game. It was 7 o'clock. I said, man, you ain't crossed half court yet.
And that's real.
Oh, it is.
And
especially after you've done 4, 5, 6 games.
And they had got there. They started at 9. This was 7 o'clock.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lucky he was still standing.
Yeah. That's what I told him. Tracy Hathaway was one of them. I was like, man, you guys got some good legs to do this. But what I was getting at is it's kind of like umpires. When you play, especially in college, you knew, he's calling it outside. We got to go after that pitch. As long as he's consistent, even though I may think it's a ball, if he says it's a strike, it's a strike. But if he's consistent the whole game, then we know. You can't get mad. Yes, exactly. And that's what I have to tell my players sometimes in basketball. Now, I still may bark at the officials because I got to do something to try to help. But I'm telling them, don't worry about it. Keep playing.
Right.
You know, and you have to learn to adjust.
Yeah, I was telling him I did a boys game up at Bluffton just the other night, and it was a great game. The coaches coached, the players played, fans were pretty controlled. I mean, we didn't really hear anything other than, the basics,
Right.
If you called a foul, but nothing derogatory, nothing. And I was like, man, that was so refreshing because we had just come back from Friday night, his game at he had a game up at South Bend Adams, and I'm listening to the fans and I'm listening to the coaches. They actually had to tee up one of the coaches, and it's just
we had 4 techs in that game.
4 techs in that game. One was on a coach, the other 3 were on players, and it's like.
But they were split evenly. This team had
2 on each.
And they had 2.
And it was just like chaos. And I'm like, oh my goodness. They were exhausted by the end of the game just mentally.
We were drained.
And, because you had to be alert at all times. You just didn't know who was going to do something stupid.
Right. It was so stupid. They did such I called 2 techs, and they were both stupid.
Yeah.
Right. One kid came off the free throw. I just called a foul on him. He turned and said, who's that on, ref? I said, it was on you. He goes, man, that wasn't on me. I said, well, we disagree. He goes, that's Bush. And then his coach subbed him out. And on the way out, I said, watch your mouth, son. He goes, man, that's effing Bush. I said, all right, here we go. Yep. And the coach, as soon as I hit the tech, the coach said, no. And I thought he was
before he hit the tech.
Yeah, I was going like this. Coach said,
the coach, it was like slow motion.
So he knew that his player was going.
He knew he was getting it.
And then as soon as the player got to him, I thought the coach was going to ride me. And I appreciate he didn't because I know that coach. And he looked at he was like, the player was coming at us. He was looking at the player, but I'm here. And I'm thinking, oh, Lord. And he goes, I told you to keep your mouth shut. I was like, good. And that's what we appreciate out of coaches.
Yes.
When you always, and that's one thing I liked about Al and you. You guys are always coaching your kids. And I tell
teaching.
Coaches,
it's not just about basketball, life skills.
Right. Yep.
Because it's bigger than basketball.
Yeah.
And we tell coaches, in the pregame, I've learned to tell coaches, Coach, I listen to you, but just remember, I'm approachable, but I'm not coachable. Yeah. And I tell him that. Yeah. And when I said that to one coach, he just bust out laughing. He goes, that's pretty good. I said, I hope you remember it. He goes, I will. Yeah. I said, because I don't mind you guys asking me questions, as long as they're basketball questions. Yeah. Or if we're doing volleyball questions. I said, but when you start telling me my job, now we got a problem because I'm not telling you what to do. Well, you got to do this. And there you go again, telling me what I'm going to do.
Right.
Well, it's like I tell my players, I was like, you don't have to agree with the call. You don't have to like it. But you have to realize the officials are just as human as you are.
Thank you.
And they'll get emotion gets involved also.
Yeah.
You know, and so I try to tell them, keep the passion, lose the emotion, because passion stays within, but emotion comes out.
Yep.
Very good.
And emotion gets you in trouble.
Yeah.
Now, listening to you said something earlier in the show, maybe you said it when we were sitting here talking. You've matured as a coach.
In the sense that, well, my kids say I got a little softer. You know how that is.
I hear the same thing.
You know,
I think you get a little wiser.
Yeah, exactly. You got a little wiser. Everything you don't.
Yeah, you've gotten a little wiser.
That's I forgot.
We
to
didn't mean
wash.
it like
that was
that.
Lent. Yeah, that's Lent. But you know, like
I was talking about up here. She was talking about
right. But you know, the kids that come back, man, Coach, if we had done that, you'd have did this and that. But also, it's funny. You maybe a little bit softer to a sense with the kids, where everything you don't explode on.
Right.
But then you come a little bit harder when it comes to parents, where like I don't care.
Right.
You know,
right.
And you don't mean it, but you like things just roll off your back now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where before you might have taken it personal or whatever, things roll off your back. You've seen enough and you're used to it, and you know you can't tell people what to do with their kids, and I'm not there to tell them how to
raise them.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, but if
You
you're
just
going
do
to
the
play
best
for
you
me,
can.
this is how.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are the
rules.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
These are the boundaries, and I think that's a big thing. You know, I mean, even in parenting, we talk about that. You know, if you got to have boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
If these kids don't have boundaries, then they're just running around.
And I think the kids want boundaries.
They
Yes,
do.
sir. Yes, sir.
They
Yes.
do.
Because in this chaotic world, a strong adult who has boundaries, loving boundaries,
Right.
Young people can appreciate that.
Yes.
Yep.
And respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our time is kind of winding down, and I wanted to ask you. So I know you've been coaching for years, between Harding and New Haven. Do you have any specific career highlights or something that kind of sticks out in your head that you want to share?
You know, it's probably amazing. What I'll say, probably a lot of it doesn't really have to do with basketball per se, as far as the game being played. Now, as a coach, I think I remember the losses more than I remember the wins, because they hurt more. Mm-hmm. But, winning the state championship, that you never forget that, and just being able to take those kids there, all those years that we did, it's been great.
What year did you guys win state?
2001.
Now, that Harding, or that was
Harding.
Okay.
That was Harding. Yeah. And then we went back 4 more times. And,
Okay.
And
that was when you were. Was that when Al was?
Al was
actually
the head coach. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Were you ever the head coach at Harding?
No. I took when Al left New Haven. Then so this is my 10th year as head coach at New Haven.
Haven.
Okay.
So I was with Al for 18 years. So 28 years. No, 18 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And then 10 years as winning my first sectional as a head coach was, very memorable. The year that we won sectionals, and then we didn't get to go to regionals because of COVID. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah, but
what year did you win sectionals?
Oh gosh, what was that? I think it was 2019 that we beat Homestead that year. That was the first year we went to 4A, and then we won 3A. I think it was 2017, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Okay. That would be a hurdle to win sectional and can't go to regional. Because
we
of COVID.
Practiced and everything, and then we
Wow.
found out that Friday, the day before.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was as a head coach. That was the first year I finished. My last game was a win.
And the thing about it is, in high school, they don't give them that gap year to repeat.
Right.
In college, they do.
Right, and so since that COVID year, all seniors have been hurt, in the sense that because now that the portal was out and they gave kids extra years, now college coaches, I hear it all the time. Man, I unless this kid is phenomenal, I got to go after this kid that's either been sitting out or went to JUCO, or I can get a kid in the portal. So I tell kids, there's nothing wrong with playing NAIA and what do they call, get your bag ready or get your resume ready.
Right.
Then these coaches will come get you because they want experienced guys, because the money that's out there for these college coaches, they don't want to lose because of a snotty-nosed freshman who don't want to listen, where they can go get grown men.
Where the parents are.
Yes, exactly.
And the parents are used to the culture.
Yes,
And you have to deal with what they call the helicopter parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
good point.
but probably the biggest thing, and I think all coaches will say this, but it's it's the kids that you make a difference in their life. You know, I think every year I tell my wife, "This is it. I can't do this anymore. I'm just." And then she
How many
goes,
years you been saying that?
Yeah, well, over 30-something years. And then she goes, the smallest violin in the world. She goes, "There'll be a reason." You know, and Alan and JJ and I used to say this all the time. There's a reason why we coach, and it has nothing to do with the money.
Right.
And because
there is no money in
exactly,
coaching high school
and any money
sports.
that you get, you give back to the program anyway.
Yep.
Amen.
But there's some kid that year or something that happened, and you go, "This is why I was supposed to be here."
Yep.
And that's the part that keeps you going.
Yep. I absolutely agree. I mean, I think about that, because I coached years ago, but definitely wasn't for the money.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad I'm an official now though. So I enjoyed coaching, but I love officiating. So.
Well, and that's the good thing is we got to have officials that really love to do it. And I know you guys do because you have the training classes and all of that. And one of my former players, I can't think of his name, but I saw him out there officiating. I think he went through, you might have been, it was a summer you was kind of instructing him and all that. So just to see these kids go back out and get involved, that there was an officiating question I was going to ask you and I forgot about it, but if I think about it, I'll text you or whatever. But
and you're talking about love. We do love it, and we tell people that basically it's our therapy. If we are stressed out and having a tough week, where I got to be on the court somewhere, I got to be blowing a whistle, I got to be running up and down the court. It just calms me.
Yeah.
And people find that weird. I'm going, yeah, but you're talking 30 years of being in the game, so there's a few things that surprise me, but just like you as a coach, for the most part, there's not a lot that surprises me.
Right.
Especially with the way people act nowadays. It's like, wow.
And you know how people talk. Everybody thinks their generation was the best and this and that. Much hasn't changed. I think the talent 30 years ago was just as good or even sometimes better as it is now.
Yeah, you made a good point earlier when you talked about Jim Master.
Yeah.
If we had a 3-point line, how many points would he have had?
Yeah.
Well, and you talk about differences. I mean, back then, you talk about the amount of contact that, players had to play through.
Right.
Players today, you barely touch them, and they're like, foul.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
and they're expecting the call. And here's the funny thing. We don't call fouls in practice.
Right.
Okay? Just to prepare them.
That's good.
And then we get in the game, and a kid goes, "That was a foul, but they didn't call it." And that's why we don't call them in practice.
Yeah. So
you should have been able to play through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right, Coach.
But, she makes a good point because sometimes she'll talk about the kids nowadays. They have what we didn't have, this thing right here.
Yeah.
And basically, they sit there and they watch the highlights. They don't watch the whole game. They watch the highlights.
Yes.
And she always says that. And when they watch the highlights.
That's your point on that. They don't. So then they lose the fundamental part.
Exactly.
Because I still do drills that I learned in the third grade.
Exactly.
That they don't know yet.
They didn't get
so I don't assume coming in that they know these things. You still do the drill.
And these are high schoolers.
Yes. Exactly. Because it's a highlight. It's a this, and that. And
everything's an and one.
Yes.
And they play a lot of AAU, but no fundamentals.
Right.
That's right. And, we used to say a lot of times, you play the game, but you don't know the game. And so, but here's another difference. When we grew up, we loved NBA, but man, we sat down there. We knew every college player.
Right.
We knew all the coaches. You knew, everything. Even if it wasn't your favorite team, you knew everything about them, and you studied. And you would, and like for me, I listened to the color commentators, what they had to say, because they were teaching you the game. And that was in college. Most of these kids don't watch college ball. They don't have a favorite college athlete.
Right.
But in their defense, because these kids aren't staying in college. Now the portal and the NIL money may change that, but most kids are 1 and done, 2 and done, or whatever. But hey, Mike Woodson gets a job. We all go, "Oh, Mike Woodson with the afro, the sharpshooter at IU." We follow him, and you watched him play all those years, and you that's why you fell in love with a team. It
Right.
could be IU,
Right.
Notre Dame, Purdue, whoever it was that you like. You followed them because of who they had. I became a Purdue fan when Eugene Parker and Walter Jordan went there.
Right.
You're like, oh, Fort Wayne guys, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something Al Gooden said a long time ago. he said, I was talking to him about one of your teams when you guys were at Harding, and he says, Crane, I'm going to be honest with you, and maybe it was you. I don't know, one of y'all said this. He said, Crane, we don't really have any basketball players. We got one basketball player. The rest of them are just athletes.
Yeah, we had a lot of athletes at Harding.
I was like, wow, I never thought of that. But y'all were winning. I was like, how are you winning? You go, because we have athletes, and they do what we tell them to do.
Yeah.
So they stay in their lane.
And they were willing to do that.
Exactly, because they knew they weren't basketball players. So it's like, okay, coach, you want me to rebound? That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And you ask any of those guys, they'll go, well, you can't play for us if you don't rebound and play defense. And they accepted that. I mean, think about this. When Al's rule is you couldn't wear braids.
Why not?
He just said he didn't like the way they looked he said if they kept them up, that's okay. But then when they get frizzy and all that, he said, and Al grew up, we all played at a time where you could have a mustache maybe. Yeah. You had to be clean shaven. And the coach kept a razor in the box in case you came to the game. We grew up and the hair could only be so many inches long and all that.
That's true.
So, but every kid knew that, hey, if I'm going to play varsity. And our kids, it would be funny. You used to see them in tryouts. They'd have hair froze all the way out to here. And then as soon as they saw that list that they made the team, that day in practice, it was all gone. But they accepted that.
Right.
Because that was part of the rules.
It was the standard.
Yes, exactly.
So that's the culture you guys set up.
Yeah. I
remember there's a teacher years ago named LaWanda Wyndham. She was a middle school teacher at Lane Middle School. She said something to me I never forgot. She says, Crane, everyone. She said, there might be people who don't like you for this reason, that reason. She said, but everyone respects excellence. Yeah. I never forgot that. Yeah. And that's what you're talking about. Al and you had a culture.
And JJ.
Had a culture of professional excellence.
Yeah. Our kids knew. Now, times have changed and you can't go so far with that now but our kids also know, okay, I can't come in there looking too wild.
Right.
And got to have those pants pulled up.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that was just us, but that was just, we knew that was our rule. I'm sure other schools had same type of, things. Heck, when I played at Harding, we wore those green jackets. I don't know if you remember, we wore green blazers. If you play varsity, you got a green blazer.
Exactly.
And people was like, man, y'all wear those blazers. I said, I don't care. That means I'm varsity.
Yes,
right.
You
know where I'm at.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you still have the rule when you at New Haven? You still have the strict keep your hair kind of.
Long as it's lined up and all that, but
okay.
I let them go with the.
But it has to look neat.
Yes. Yeah. Now, hey, there's sometimes they can get away from, but yeah, they know.
Okay.
But yeah, I still let them go with they want the braids or the locks or whatever, but keep it lined up, keep it neat. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Got anything else for him before we say goodbye?
I have a lot of things for him, but
I know.
I may have to come back.
Yeah,
I know.
I know. Because the conversation is very, very comfortable, and we can kind of relate. And you're talking about a lot of stuff takes me back. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I do have one quick question. How did you like the rule change with the free throws, the 5 fouls and each 5 team fouls? They were shooting 2, and then at the end of the first quarter, it'll reset and going into.
Now,
the
before you
second.
answer that, I want to implement that we do women's college, and that rule has been in for girls basketball for the longest.
Yeah,
I said girl for purpose. I didn't say
well
women's.
for the last couple.
So how you feel about that new girl rule there?
I'm actually okay with it.
Okay.
And maybe because I come from a team, I didn't like the fact that, if you're a team that presses or play aggressive, and sometimes you get some fouls called on you. I got 7 fouls in the first
3 minutes.
3 minutes of the first quarter, and now that whole half they're shooting free throws.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it resets. I don't know if I don't like the fact that it doesn't reset in overtime, but I get that overtime is a carryover.
Yep.
The only thing that I would like for them to do, you're always going to be some I wish this and wish that, but I wish it was 1 and 1, and then when you get to 7, you get 2.
So 1 and 1 at 5.
Yes.
Okay.
And then at 7 or whatever you're going to do, then you go automatic 2. Because that still gives you a chance at the end of the game. They miss a shot, you got a chance to go. But, that's –
So they just IHSA just put, or NFHS, one of them, just put out a survey. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they just put out a survey for coaches and officials. And that, I think, is one of the questions that is on there is, would you want to do a 1-on-1 at such and such, foul, and then go into a double bonus.
Yeah.
And then reset each
Yes.
quarter.
Yes. So, because when I played high school ball, it was like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I remember, man, when did they go to? Because remember, it used to be a jump ball on every jump ball. They had a tip on every jump ball.
At the one of the 3 circles. Right?
Yes.
Well, I think they changed that. I know I've heard him talk about it before. They changed that because in girls basketball,
there was so many
so many jump balls.
Oh, and little kids, youth ball.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
And they had to go kind of.
They had to be consistent and be uniform
that's why
across
they
the
did
board.
Oh, and I'm okay with that
Yeah.
rule. I'm like even now in college, the 5 second. There's no 5 second count on the
for
ball.
women.
Yes, there is if it's held, and you're within 6 feet.
Oh, there is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
only
if they're
it's held.
Dribbling, they're not.
There's not.
Oh,
They got the
okay.
shot clock.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause they got
Okay.
the shot clock.
And I mean that's another thing. I don't know why every year the coaches call themselves voting on the shot clock, and then we never do anything about
Well,
it.
Indiana probably won't go there.
I know
They
won't.
will eventually, but
It'll be years.
yeah.
But we better close out because
Yep.
we
So
gotta get ready to go and pick on other people elsewhere. But we're gonna have to have you back, Bruce. This is good stuff.
Yeah,
Well, thanks. I
absolutely.
appreciate you guys
So, thank you
thinking
for
of me.
your time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
For those of you that are interested, obviously we still have reftrainingschool.com. We've got classes scheduled, so you can take a look at that online. Also, our Hoosier 3-on-3 tournament coming up in July, on July 12th. Our website will be getting updated here soon, so hopefully by the time you hear this podcast, that will be taken care of.
Very good.
So, other than
With
that,
I think we're done. Again, thank you, man.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
you coming
much.
out.
Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right. And thank you all for
tell the wife I said hi.
I will.
thank you all for plugging in another time with RefTime, and we'll be back soon with another exciting guest. So thanks for watching. Take care. Thanks again for listening to RefTime, powered by RefTrainingschool.com and Hoosier3on3.com. Produced by Coraggio Media, RefTime is recorded in WELT Studios in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana.
To join RTS, visit reftrainingschool.com. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time.